what makes up a brand? While many may think that a logo or a certain color scheme or maybe a spokesperson can be a brand, that's not quite the case. This is not a brand. These colors are not a brand. I'm not a brand. But these are items that represent a brand, that help create memorability of a brand, making it easier for someone to remember a brand. These are all things that are important to branding, but at its core, a brand is much more than the logo, than the colors, than even your face. It is the standards that you set. It is the mission that you're on. It is the story of your business and how your business can make your clients heroes in their own story. So we're going to dive deeper into all of that today and break down really not just how to build a strong real estate brand, but how to do this while maintaining compliance with the Florida Real Estate Commission. There's a lot of mistakes that are made with real estate teams, and even just with new associates, especially that are getting started using terminology or making one of the biggest mistakes in advertising, which is not including the name of the brokerage. So we're going to talk more about that and break that all down and what that means and how you maintain that compliance, whether you're just getting started in real estate, whether you're starting a real estate team, or you have an entire real estate brokerage, which at that point you get a lot more freedom in terms of not just also the terms and naming of your brokerage, but just in general control of the organization. So whatever step you're at in the process, if you need to get a real estate license, if you want to sign up for our continuing education course on marketing and marketing compliance, you can get 3 hours. We have an online course specifically on marketing through social media and conventional methods and maintaining compliance with all of that. It's a 3-hour CE course. If you have any questions about any of this, call into our advisors, 813-333-2676. Again, that's 813-333-2676. Or you can find all the courses and a whole lot more information at TampaSchoolOfRealEstate.com. But let's go ahead and dive right into the branding topic today. What are the guidelines for building a successful real estate brand? And again, doing that while maintaining your compliance. So let's start with number one. The number one compliance item then you need to make sure that you maintain at all times. And that's going to be any advertisement of real estate services. Must include the name of the brokerage, and that is to avoid being what's known as a blind advertisement. So a blind advertisement is any advertisement of real estate services that does not include the name of the brokerage. So if you do not include the name of your brokerage when you're advertising real estate services, that is what can result in a blind advertisement, which is ultimately what we do not want. And going back to this example here at the beginning, this is not what we want. Why do we not want this? Well, this is a blind advertisement. This does not include the name of the brokerage. Now, if you are selling a property for sale by owner, meaning you are the owner of the property, then this is something that you could do. You could put a generic for sale sign out and just your phone number or whatever you want to do. Let people knock at your door. Who knows? You're crazy for doing it for sale by owner unless you really know what you're doing. And in that case, you probably do want a phone number on the sign, because what if you're not home and somebody knocks at your door? These are the reasons why people trust a real estate professional as opposed to trusting the sale of their biggest asset to themselves. A lot of mistakes that can be made But one of those mistakes that's exclusive for real estate professionals, which is why we get a big fat no on this one here, is because there's no name of the company. There's no ABC Realty, ABC Real Estate Services, ABC Experts, whatever the name of the brokerage is. Now you might be saying, well, John, what if I don't have a brokerage? Well, here's the thing. If you want to be able to perform real estate services in Florida, you're going to need an active sales associate license, which will require you to take a course with a textbook that looks like this, with maybe some exam prep tools that look like this to help you pass the exam. But this is just to get the license. Now, if you want to make this license actually active, and what that means is when your license is active is that you can actually practice and perform these real estate services we were talking about here. But in order to activate your license, you must join a brokerage. So you must join a real estate brokerage to activate your license. And now whenever you perform any real estate services, you're doing so on behalf of the brokerage, which is why you must always include the name of the brokerage in any advertisement that you do. So to put this in its simplest sense of what this could really be is if we wanted to make that for sale sign at the beginning legal, it couldn't look like that. We'd have to go in here and put in something such as, I'm going to do it in a different color so it stands out. Let's say that's the name of your company, ABC Realty, the brokerage that you hang your license at. This is now a compliant sign. But now the problem as a sales associate is the only brand that is on this sign is the brand of your brokerage, which I'm sure your brokerage is fine with. But for you, you want to have your branding on here. And so what a lot of new agents will do when they're starting out is the company might already have a company sign like this. This is the minimum. It really doesn't even have to say for sale. It could just say the company's name, but it's usually a good rule of thumb to include these keywords so people understand that this property is actually for sale. So pretty straightforward there. And then there's something known as a rider. And these riders, they hook right onto the bottom of signs. So usually there's like some little grommet holes where you could use like a zip tie or little hook things. And this is usually where the new agents. So ultimately, it'd be best if you got your own sign made because we could go a lot farther with the branding. But baby steps, because these riders here, I mean, you're going to get these made for like $20-$30 or so, whereas getting a whole sign made, that's like $100, $150, depending on the materials and so on and so forth, investment that you're making. So to start out for your first listing, you could just use a rider where you would put your full name, and ultimately this is not a requirement, but I would put in your phone number. For example, 813-333-2676. You might say, oh, John, what's that phone number? I don't know. Call it. Find out. It's going to call Tampa School of Real Estate. So if you do have any real estate questions, call that number here. But example purposes in this example here. Now, in terms of the name, what is really the required part is it being your full name if you choose to include your name. So stick with me here because we've got some mandatories and some optionals that are kind of overlapping, which I want to make sure you take away the key things. Number one, most important thing in any real estate advertisement, whether it's a for sale sign, a promotional pen, a cup, an email signature, your website, anything that's designed to solicit business for real estate services would be considered a real estate advertisement and must always include the name of the brokerage. Now, that is the bare minimum. If you're just going to have a sign that says ABC Realty, that would be okay. But again, branding-wise, you want to represent your brand, your sub-brand, because even though you're associating with a company like ABC Realty, and they're going to have their own logo, their own color scheme, and all that other stuff, and maybe you want to match that color scheme just for keeping things simple, keeping things easy. Maybe you want your own color scheme to stand out. Maybe you're designing your own logo to go with that. And again, these are things that are there to increase your memorability, but something as simple as just a picture of your face, a headshot of you will do that. That's something that you could very much associate with yourself, right, turnkey, right from the beginning. Matter of fact, most agents that are operating in a solo agent type of capacity, they're putting their headshot in a picture or something like that on the sign, because this very much is a people business. Now, if you're getting more into building a team, you're building a brokerage, that's where it's less about the individual and more about the brand. So remember, as you're starting out, your name alone, that is your brand. You've already got a brand, and that is who you are. Think of what you represent to everybody that you know. Now, you might not be proud of some of what you represent to certain people, and maybe that's what you're actively working on changing. But you have to understand that that is what your brand is. It's really your reputation. Or at least that's part of it. Let's add a few different things on here. We'll add reputation. That's one of the most important parts of your brand, is your reputation. Huge. But beyond that, you also have your qualifications. And yes, that does mean being licensed, but also experience. So when you're new, your brand is going to be its weakest when you're new because you're lacking this component here. But the good news is there's more than just your experience that makes up your brand, especially if you already do have a good reputation with at least some people, maybe not everybody. And I'm talking not just friends and family, I'm talking coworkers, people you go to church with, people from social clubs, people that you're in PTA meetings with, that you're at kids' soccer games with, and Little League and football and all these different things. What is your reputation to those people? Do they even understand your qualifications, that you're licensed, and what your experience is? But saying that this is all that a brand is still very short-sighted. We have some bigger picture things. We'll put these at the top. And we'll call this like your vision, your mission. And the thing that's important about your vision and mission is it's not that I want to be rich. That's not the vision of your brand. That might be your personal aspiration, that you want to be wealthy, that you want to make a lot of money off of real estate. But the way that you build your brand's vision and mission is how you serve your clients. How you help those clients achieve goals. Achieve goals or solve problems. So that's because a lot of people, and I just want to put that extra clarification on the vision and mission, because that could really turn into a whole nonsensical waste of time if you really don't answer these questions of how do you achieve the goals and solve the problems of your clients. And now how do you turn that into a really cool sounding, really good sounding mission statement, a vision for your brand. And so why I put this at the top, and I'm even going to put that in a nice little box there, because that's what's going to help drive you. It's going to help you understand what further qualifications you might need, how you might need to improve your reputation. And that reputation, that is what creates your sphere of influence. And that starts out as, again, just people that you already know, friends, family, co-workers, people you go to church with, social clubs, kids' sporting events, actual professional sporting events, fishing, hunting, whatever hobbies you might be into, biking, bowling, however it is that you might be around other people, those people are your sphere of influence. And that reputation that your sphere of influence has about you. So this one kind of goes both ways here, which really all this stuff goes both ways. But that reputation is how they view your brand. Now, they might see some of your qualifications, maybe you have some experience, maybe you have some social proof. And that's something that I want to put over here on this other compass of your brand. And we're just going to call it proof. And that is the other side of qualifications. Qualifications are things that show you should be able to do the job. Proof is exactly that. It is proof. And this could be things like case studies. And before we even say case study, because that's way more advanced, it could be something as simple as a review. Let's start there. Give me 5 stars. And really that proof is what feeds into our reputation. Because now our sphere of influence, they could see our qualifications, they could see the proof, and then they could see our vision and mission and realize we are the brand for them. Or you're trying to pull somebody in and they're going to want to see the proof. They're going to want to see reviews and testimonials and something that shows that you know what you're doing. So quick hack for new agents. Maybe you haven't sold anything yet. Go show some of your friends and family some homes. Do it for free. Do it because you want to hang out with them and show them properties, but also do it so that way they could then write a review about you being a real estate professional. Now, maybe they haven't bought or sold anything with you yet, but you could still assist them in understanding the value of their home, at looking at properties, at so much. And again, when this is somebody that you could trust, somebody that already knows your reputation and is okay attaching their reputation to your reputation, because that's what somebody does when they're giving you those 5 stars right there. And then as you progress to actually doing sales, that's where you could have a case study. So when you have a listing in the past that was very similar to the listing you're trying to get, that case study will be your best proof because it is more specific than, say, just a review might be. And so what's very important to really showcase your brand in the right light to whatever prospective client it is that you're trying to attract here is really understanding is what's important to them. How does your vision apply specifically to their goals or problems? How does your experience, but more importantly, do you have a case study? Do you have some sort of past example of something very similar, a similar situation, a similar client, a similar property, a similar type of loan where you could show, hey, look, I did it for this person in the past. And when you're new, you don't have these yet, so you got to rely on these other aspects of your brand. But as you become less new, as you become more experienced, as you start to build your reviews in your case studies, you will have more of a brand than you ever imagined. And that's when it's more important, because when you have a brand, that's where the colors. Let's put this on another screen because I don't even want to confuse these things here, because this is what myself included waste too much time on rather than the actual tangibles of the brand, of the things that you're actually interacting with clients with. So this is where you have a logo and colors, even fonts, maybe even got a tagline or a catchphrase. But these are not things you need to worry about when you're getting started, because what do these represent if you haven't yet already built a brand? Your logo means nothing until it could be attached to a much more powerful brand. Your colors mean nothing until there's some proof and some reviews and a vision and a mission and a problem that you're setting out to solve for people. When there's people, it's much more important to have people to showcase a brand to rather than having the right logo, the right colors. That's something that's going to matter more later. Now, as you start to grow up in your real estate business, maybe you're starting a team, maybe you're starting your own brokerage. That's where the branding aspects are going to be more important now, because, like I said, day one with your real estate license, you have a brand, and that is your face, because that represents your reputation. But as you start to go beyond and bigger than yourself, it's no longer just your face that is that brand. There's other faces. And so what are those shared values, those shared beliefs? And I want to put those values and beliefs right up here with the vision and the mission, because they all kind of feed into that. Your values and your beliefs are what create your vision and your mission. And now, when you have all these other boxes that you could check, that you got a logo, that you got a certain set of colors, certain fonts that you use, you maybe even have a tagline, this is what's going to help create memorability. It's going to make your brand easier to remember, but it has to be something worth remembering in the first place. A logo isn't worth remembering on its own. Colors and fonts and taglines, they're not worth all those items together. You could have all of these items here, and all of these items together don't create memorability. They enhance memorability of a powerful brand. Again, the values, the beliefs, the vision and mission of how you achieve the goals and solve the problems of your clients. The social proof that you have in the form of reviews. And again, as your business evolves, eventually case studies to showcase, hey, look, I worked with a client just like this in the past. I had a listing just like this in the past. You might go on to improve your designations by, again, maybe you're doing something like upgrading your license to become a broker yourself. Maybe you're taking some sort of specialization classes. There's all kinds of different realtor designation classes you could take to become further specialized in different categories. And notice how this gets wider as we move out here, because the more that makes up your brand, the more you have a brand. Does that make sense? If all you have is just your reputation as Joe Smith, that's not much of a brand. Now, that is what you got day one. You've got that reputation of people that know you. But now, how do you develop a vision and a mission of how you could solve your clients' problems, how you could help your clients achieve their goals? Because now you have a purpose of an actual brand. And when you could bring that purpose to your sphere of influence, that's going to change your reputation, because now your sphere of influence is going to start to see your qualifications. And again, as you start to develop the proof, you'll be able to work that into the mix as well to really start to develop a strong brand. And then you could showcase your brand, again, using your tangible items like the logos, the colors, the pictures. I don't know where our text went on that one there. And that's where, going back to when we were talking about the sign at the beginning, you could have a whole sign that is designed around your brand. Now, in a for sale sign, it might just be something as simple as your colors, your logo, your team name maybe. And while we're talking about that, let's cover some quick compliance items on team names. And this is covered in full in your pre-licensing course, but team names cannot include examples such as brokerage. Now, why can't you call yourself a brokerage as a team? Well, you can't say brokerage because you're not a brokerage. Now, most brokerages don't call themselves brokerage, but they might use a term like this, like realty. Well, that's also prohibited. There's a whole list in your pre-licensing course. This comes from Unit 5 of your pre-licensing course of all of the different terms. And if you've got I've got a 46th edition here, 47th edition won't be too far off in terms of page number. I'll even give you the page number on this right here. It's in Unit 5, specifically before the escrow. Flipping through a lot of stuff on escrow for your exam. That makes up a big part of Unit 5 here. There we are. Team advertising. And it's specifically on page 93 where you've got the list of terms that you cannot use. So we covered brokerage, also brokers, because there is such a thing as a broker license. So if you have a broker license and you're actually operating in a broker capacity, then you could have your own brokerage and call ABC Realty, call it whatever you want, really. There's not many restrictions if it's your own brokerage. But for a team name, which is not a brokerage, that's a group of associates, either broker or sales associates, that come together as a team, that's where you can't use these terms like brokerage or broker. You can't use realty or real estate services or even the term real estate. So you cannot call yourself the real estate team. That is reserved for brokerages. You've got associates even. Associates, agency, company, corporation, LLP, LLC, partnership. Anything that implies that this is a separate entity from whoever the brokerage is, in this example here, ABC Realty. So I would recommend consulting legal counsel, an attorney, ideally, for this before you really choose a team name. And if not an attorney, not legal counsel, at least consult with your broker first, just to make sure, and consult with your pre-licensing book. You could find a lot of the laws and rules. That's why, even with our text-based course, a lot of students will purchase this book. Even though this isn't included with the text-based course, if you get the video-based, this is included, the video-on-demand course. But we've had people purchase this on its own when they didn't need this book because it is such a great reference manual for all these different laws and rules that you'll be needing to know when you're practicing real estate, especially as it comes to advertising, because now the idea with advertising is you're putting money behind getting the word out. So you want to make sure you do that legally, because if you're getting the word out and you're doing it illegally, that might make its way back to the Florida Real Estate Commission because you're making active efforts to push that information out there. So you're a lot more likely to be caught with advertising compliance just because, again, you're paying to share that information, or at least investing somehow. You're buying the sign, or you're putting it out there, you're going door to door knocking, dropping off flyers, something like that. So again, that's where you want to maintain compliance. Now, your personal name, that absolutely can go in the ad, but again, it does have to be your full name. I would highly recommend a phone number, but phone numbers are not required. Neither is a website, neither is an address. Really, the key thing that is required is the name of the brokerage. Now, if you do use a nickname other than your legal name, that's where you'd put that in parentheses. You'd have your first name, your nickname, and then your last name. So that would be the appropriate way if you are using a nickname as an individual associate. So I hope this has helped you better understand how to be compliant with your advertising. And more importantly, I hope this has helped you better understand really what makes up a brand. If you do have any questions about anything branding wise, I would love to elaborate into these different topics further. I'd love to help you understand and really build your most successful real estate career. So let us know in the chat, in the comments, if you have any follow-up questions to this, if there's anything you'd like to see more information on, because we'd love to help you, again, advance your real estate career, to help you build that dream real estate career. If you're ready to take those next steps, reach out to us at 813-333-2676. If you still want to find out about what opportunities are out there, I have to make a quick mention before we go today about the Florida Real Estate Career Fair. You can find all the details of the next event at floridarealestatecareerfair.com, but there's going to be several recruiters there. It's going to be a great networking event, and the best part is we have free admission. There's a limited amount of free admission, so go to floridarealestatecareerfair.com and get registered. And don't just take my word for it. Come out and meet the recruiters and see the opportunities for yourself. Like I said, if you're ready to take the next steps, call in 813-333-2676, or you can register 24/7 online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. That's about all the time we've got for today. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week for Ask the Instructor.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida Real Estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.